So today we're going to dive into India's massive climate challenge. And it's really a story that unfolds through two totally different lenses. You've got the huge modern machinery of the government on one side, and on the other, the ancient, time-tested wisdom of its oldest communities. Let's get into it.
To really get a sense of what's at stake, all you need to know is this one number. In 2019, India was ranked the 7th most affected country by climate change in the entire world. So the threat isn't some far-off problem. It's right here, right now, and the impact is absolutely massive.
And this puts the nation at a really critical crossroads. It's got to balance the urgent needs of a developing economy with the escalating dangers of a warming planet. It's a huge challenge, a fundamental problem of both incredible scale and deep vulnerability.
Okay, this slide right here, this shows you the core paradox. On one hand, you see that India is the world's third largest emitter of greenhouse gases, period. But then you look at the other bar, and its emissions per person are still only about half the world average. This single chart really captures just how complex India's position is in any global climate conversation.
So, what's actually driving those emissions? Well, as you can see, CO2 from stuff like burning coal makes up the lion's share, a whopping 79%. But you can't ignore methane from agriculture or nitrous oxide either. They're significant chunks of the pie. Understanding this mix is absolutely key if you want to create policies that actually work.
And this isn't just about numbers on a chart. Here's what it looks like in the real world. The 0.7 degrees Celsius rise in temperature might not sound like a lot, right? But it's enough to seriously speed up the melting of the Himalayan glaciers. And that's not just some ecological footnote, it's a direct threat to the flow of rivers like the Ganges and the Brahmaputra, lifelines for literally hundreds of millions of people.
Okay, so let's shift gears and look at the first guardian in our story, the national response. Faced with all these challenges, the government has launched these huge, top-down programs that are all about reversing environmental damage with technology, infrastructure, and just enormous amounts of money.
And when we say big money, we really mean it. Look at this number, over 35,000 crore rupees. That's more than $4 billion US. And that's the budget for sewage infrastructure under just one program, the Namami Gange program, which is trying to clean up the sacred but very polluted Ganga River. This is what a modern, engineering-first approach looks like. So the big question is it working? Well, this government data shows some real signs of progress. If you look at the table, you can see that in a state like Uttarakhand, polluted river stretches from 2018 were actually projected to be clean by 2025. West Bengal also shows some solid improvement. But challenges are clearly still there, with Uttar Pradesh only showing partial improvement. The data suggests this big money approach can get results, but it's definitely not a silver bullet. But now, let's pivot to a completely different philosophy. This quote, it just captures the essence of our second guardian perfectly. This is an approach that isn't based on building shiny new things, but on an ancient understanding of how to live within the environment's limits.
We're talking about India's tribal communities, often known as Adivasi. They make up about 9% of the country's population, and these groups are the keepers of centuries of indigenous knowledge on how to maintain the super delicate balance of the ecosystems that they call home. And this knowledge isn't just some abstract idea, it's a whole collection of highly sophisticated, practical techniques. You have the Adi tribes who use totems and beliefs to protect endangered animals. The Gunwans practice a type of farming that naturally keeps moisture in the soil. The Solaga use controlled fires to keep forests healthy. These are not primitive methods, they are time-tested sciences. Let's just look at one specific example, because it's amazing. It's called the Lipum fishing technique. It is so ingenious. First, they build these intricate bamboo baskets to trap fish. But the most crucial part, the real genius, is the last step. They inspect their catch and they release all the young fish back into the water. This ensures the fish population stays healthy for the future. I mean, that is the perfect definition of sustainable harvesting.
So here is where our two stories collide. You'd think these two approaches, one modern, one ancient, both trying to achieve conservation, would work together, right? But the reality is they are often in direct and pretty devastating conflict with each other. The tragic irony is just laid bare right here. The modern approach is to create protected areas like national parks to save ecosystems. But what's the consequence? The very same tribal communities who have protected these forests for generations are often forcibly evicted from their ancestral lands, all in the name of a conservation that they basically invented.
And what's crucial to understand is that even legal protections have fallen short. The Forest Rights Act of 2006 was specifically designed to secure land rights for these communities. But in practice, its implementation has been, frankly, a mess, and it's failed to protect the very people it was supposed to empower.
This whole conflict points to a much deeper issue that scholars call environmental casteism. As you can see from the definition, it's all about how environmental harm, things like pollution or displacement, isn't distributed equally. It's the marginalized groups, particularly the indigenous Adivasi and lower caste Dalit populations, who disproportionately bear the brunt of both climate change and flawed conservation policies.
So this leaves India with a really fundamental question. As the climate crisis gets worse, are these two powerful systems of knowledge, the modern data-driven state and the ancient community-led wisdom, going to keep colliding? Or can they be integrated to create a better, more effective path forward?
And you know what? There is hope. This isn't just a theoretical debate. Government bodies, like the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, or ICAR, have actually started to formally study indigenous techniques, like that Uttara cropping system we mentioned, recognizing that they have real scientific merit for sustainable farming.
And that brings us to our final question, the one I want to leave you with. In the face of a completely unprecedented global climate crisis, could the key to a sustainable future lie not just in new technology, but in actually listening to the world's oldest guardians? The answer to that may very well determine India's path through the 21st century.